Hi everyone, welcome to another podcast from agilecoach.com.au. We've got something new today. We've got three people on the call. We've got our product owner extraordinaire, Ollie. How you doing, Ollie?
Very well, thank you, Alex.
And Sandika, who's our delivery manager, Scrum Master, who's been on a few. How you doing, Sandika?
Very well. Thanks,
That's
Alex.
good. And
Good to see you there, Ollie.
Good to see you too, Andy.
And I'm on here as always. Just going to guide some conversation between a Scrum Master and a product owner. And we'll get going in a second, but we're on a Monday here. Anyone do anything exciting at the weekend? No? Ollie?
I'll go first. Leading up to the weekend, I saw this. It's quite funny thinking of it now. I saw this post from our Prime Minister at a store somewhere, taking a selfie with people. And thinking of that, I made a comment because I thought all the doers must be doing work and all the attention seekers are just at the photo. So I just left a comment there, and then, would you believe it, 90 people actually laughed with me or liked it. And there's so many random people checking out my profile. It's scary. It's come to a point where I'm scared now because there are so many people that I don't know that's looking on my profile. So that was a very good emotional ride.
It was right, though. You were right. I saw the photo, and you could tell all the people at the front all had brand new Viswear on. That they don't normally work in that warehouse. With a big brand. What about
with
you?
The ties and everything, yeah.
What about you, Ollie? You been stalking the Prime Minister?
I haven't been stalking the PM. No, I've been chaperoning or doing the usual kind of taxi service for my teenage daughter going to football games. But we had a day out in Manly after the game and had some fish and chips and got it taken by hungry seagulls.
Nice.
So yeah.
Well, that's your own fault for not being wise to that. But fish and chips and football sounds like a brilliant weekend. That would be that's almost my dream weekend. There's a few other things to sprinkle in, but that's about it. So moving on to
fish and chips and Englishmen, huh?
Look, I chatted to an Englishman today, and I said, look, I've just got to finish making my cup of tea, and he's like, what, PG tips, Yorkshire tea? I was like, oh, lovely. So to this week's topic,
Irish coffee, then.
I've been in my role now for about 4 weeks, and so I was thinking about the things that I planned to do at the beginning of starting that new gig, and what I've actually done. And wanted to ask you guys about that. What that first 4 weeks looks like when you get into a role as a product owner and a Scrum Master, and see if how different they are between the two of you. So I want to explore what you think you're going to be doing when that first 4 weeks. And actually, I know you've both started gigs on a regular basis. What do you end up doing in that first 4 weeks? So, Ollie, over to you. What does the first 4 weeks when you get into a team that's already established look like for a product owner?
Already established, look, the first and probably the most important thing you do is you meet the people within the team in one-on-one settings, and you start building relationships as soon as you can and as well as you can, because the relationships that you form in that team over time are going to do everything for you, right? They're going to help you pull presentations together. They're going to help you understand requirements. They're going to, the list goes on and on and on about what good relationships, the power of good relationships and how they can help.
And can I check if Sandika is it any different? Is it any different for a Scrum Master? Is that number one there as well?
No, it's perfect. You try to establish relationships as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's challenging when you're working remotely. Like, I've joined and left companies totally working remotely, so you don't have the luxury of being next to a person, having that chit chat or the corridor chat, that you would otherwise have when you work remotely. But when you sign up, those things anyways. Like, in the modern day, that anyway. So slightly different now, a bit more challenging to build up relationships, I would say. But that will
no
be
less important, though.
Yeah, but that's the first thing I would do as well. Understand who the players are, and who the key players are as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think on the work front, you obviously start thinking about what is the work this team is producing, what's the vision of the area you're in, what does the roadmap look like if there is one there. There's a lot of activities to do to uncover that kind of thing, but a lot of it, a lot of that's elementary, but the relationships is something that you should really focus on and prioritize.
And you can't really make a mistake there either, as with the relationships. You don't do that right the first time and get that right, it's going to take a long time to repair. If you make a mistake in I don't know what you around the roadmap, or you don't quite understand an intricacy there, it's not going to probably be critical like it would be with a relationship. But
You always have you always have the card that you can play. I'm new here, trying to understand.
Yes.
Always use that. I would always use that, and people would acknowledge you're not looking for a conflict. You're just basically seeking for collaboration. So you can always, I'm new here. Why is it? How does this work?
Yeah. And maybe you've seen something that you think isn't up to your standards, or it just doesn't look right. Never assume that was by design. It could be like that because of a decree that's come down over time, or there could be any number of reasons why it might be that state. So don't be judgmental, and assume good intent about why something is the way it is, but talk about it and see if there is, if that thing is there for a reason and if it can be changed.
I think that goes beyond the 4 weeks as well. Whenever I see anything, it's always, this
100%,
is
yeah.
non-judgmental. So Ollie,
That's a really good point, Alex. Like
uh,
personally, I would observe as much as possible. Judgmental is a good word. Not to be judgmental. Understand how things work before you start asking why it is like that. There could be a million reasons, and depending on the person that you ask why that is, that helps you to sort of let go of your learnings from your previous organization, sort of speaking, because you carry that baggage and you think, oh, this is different. Obviously, it's different. No two organizations are going, no two teams are going to be the same, even within one organization. So yeah, almost like I personally tell myself, okay, before you ask why, learn to understand how things are done, and then why will sometimes naturally come, or with your one-on-ones or with your team meetings or whatever it is, you learn the why side of it as well.
I think that's sound
Yeah,
advice
that's
to
important.
go in, listen, and learn with the non-judgmental. Just to go back to the people that you got to get to know. I'm not surprised by you starting with that, Ollie, but from getting to know the team, I think it might be easier for the scrum masters of the world, because that's kind of your world. You've really got to get to know the team and build the trust of the team straight away, almost, because you're going to be facilitating sessions with them. For a product owner, it gets outside of the team as well, though, right? You've got to meet a lot of people around the team and the environment that you're working in.
Absolutely.
Is that something you'd prioritize in after the team, or just try and get it all done as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could look at it as concentric circles going out, right? So you're going to be speaking to, let's call them business stakeholders, at certain frequencies, right? Some daily, some weekly, some monthly, and you would prioritize the daily, the weekly, and the monthly. So that process, if you're looking at timelines, the ones that you're going to speak to on an infrequent basis, you can probably stretch past the 4-week initial period. But the stakeholders that you're going to get to know and work with frequently, I'd prioritize those. It might not be immediately obvious who they are. If you're coming in relatively cold, it's a cold handover, you've come into this team, you're going to need to find your way a little bit. And so you'll start building up the contacts, and the ecosystem will reveal itself to you and who you need to go and speak to. Otherwise, if it's a warm handover, all those people who you'll be told who you should go and speak to, and you can start doing that. I think the relationships for me is just incredibly important, and it's the same for you guys, no doubt, right? Like, if you have good business stakeholder relationships, the work, they're going to be easy on. You can have much better scope conversations. They'll be flexible on dates. It just makes the whole thing more cohesive to to kind of good throughput and less stress on the team. If you have good relationships within the team, again, everything can be easier. So relationships are just immensely important. How you go about doing that, or rather the frequency and the time frame that you do it in is up to you. But as much as you can without putting out other things that you need to do off too much, but really focus on that, on building those relationships as much as you can, because it will pay you back tenfold.
And so, and one of them would be your Scrum Master, but you'd hope to build that one really quickly, right?
100%. Yeah.
Really
So
quickly.
this is interesting one, Sandika. So some people I've met have said that there should be a natural tension between product owner and Scrum Master, with the rationale being the product owner is pushing, Scrum Master's pushing back a little bit, right? I want more stuff out the door. Scrum Master's going, no, we need to protect the team. I never agreed with that one. I've always been of the opinion that if you can make that partnership work between Scrum Master and product owner, and you can be a two in the pocket model where you want throughput, you want to get through store. The product owner is naturally not going to want to stress out the team too much, because a happy team means they're going to get things out to a quality, blah blah blah. But I haven't found that there should be, or I don't believe there should be a tension between the two. I think that the relationship between Scrum Master and product owner is again, I know I keep talking about the importance of relationships, but that's one of the most important relationships, and it shouldn't be fractious. What do you
Yeah,
think?
you're right. I believe in that as well. So we, for the lack of better terms, we are joined by the hips. The two roles are joined by the hips, and we are like good. See, the thing is, we should be like parents, and we are looked up as parents or leaders to the team, right? So it's about how you set your differences aside and your disagreements aside, and then agree on the cause,
Mm,
on the greater cause. My view is, if the team starts observing conflicts that are not necessarily healthy conflicts, between the scrum master and the product owner, the product manager, that is not good for the health of the team as well. So collaboration is key. Understanding a product manager is key for a scrum master. For me, it's number one. Understand how I can enable him or her is number one for me,
mm,
because that's what we are here to do. That's what the team is here to do. Enable the vision of the product owner. Um, I guess there are certain things that you would push back on the product owner, like don't go and influence estimates, for example.
mm.
Let the team figure out how it is done, and optimum way of doing it. You can share your views in terms of how it is done, but you really bring the what part, isn't it? Like, this is what I need,
Yeah,
and the team discover how to implement it,
that's the
and
how.
then obviously you see whether the outcome is generated. So as a product owner, so yeah, that's important for me. Product manager or product owner is key. It's a key relationship,
Mm,
and I think listening to you as a product owner and as a scrum master is slightly different, because I'm usually focusing inwards and see, okay, what does my team need to make themselves set up for success, or be successful. So I focus more internally, in terms of relationships and whatnot. As Alex said, Scrum Masters go in without any authority, so no one
Mm.
reports to you. So no one necessarily takes you serious in a traditional sense, unless you have a good relationship and they see what you're trying to
same
do
as
is
product
actually
owner.
making
There's
sense.
no direct
Yeah.
reports,
Yeah,
right?
nothing, right?
It's
So
all through influence.
exactly, it's through your relationship
Yeah.
and the rationale, right? So that is very important, and they should see a friend in you. Otherwise, it's difficult to continue.
Mm.
So anyhow, yeah, look, that relationship is key for everyone's benefit.
So yeah, I think I'm one of the ones who maybe have said in the past. I don't think Ollie was thinking of me necessarily, but the healthy tension, there's nothing. And I think I've always said like the marriage, like the parents almost. But I think
Yeah,
Ollie, you've brought a perspective from a product owner that's quite a mature product owner, and the reason why you're on the channel is because you're brilliant product owner. There are a lot of product owners, or a fair percentage, that represent the business first and the team second, and it's very visible sometimes. And that's where a
Mm,
certain amount of tension can sometimes exist between the scrum master to go, hey, we know you're here to represent the business and what the business wants or what the customer wants, but you've also got to represent the team when you're out there. And sometimes
yeah,
the scrum master can be protecting the team in that respect. But also, I suppose it could go the other way where the product owner says, well, hey, you've got to think about what the business wants. We can't just keep the team happy. So that's it's less about the two
yeah.
individuals and more the two roles.
So I think okay. So let me just push back on what you said. So
Okay.
I would say that I do represent the business first and the
Hmm.
team second, or yeah. And the analogy, and this might be a bad analogy, is that the vehicle to affect change is the team. And if you, like a rental car, smash that vehicle, you're like you're revving it around, right? You're going to break it,
Hmm.
um, and you're going to put it out of action. So if you pushed on the accelerator too hard, and you're jamming the clutch, and you're doing all these things to trying to get there faster, you're going to damage it. And
Mm.
so I do want as much product stuff to flow through, but I want to do it in a way that doesn't overtax the team to the extent that, yeah, we might be able to increase throughput in this 12-week, you
Mm.
know, cycle, but it's going to be at the detriment of the team long term. So I think it's just being pragmatic about the vehicle, the only vehicle you have to make those changes. You've got to be able to treat it right. You've got to care for it. You've got to make sure that it's sustainable.
100%. When I think of the the really good product owners that I worked in my career, I think they are more the collaborative type than the transactional type. So what I mean by that is they'll come and say, okay, guys, we have this challenge in front of us. How are we going to deal with this? Rather than
Mm.
saying, it's a backlog item. Tell me when you're done with it. You know what I mean? Like you can do that as well as a product owner and say, okay, here's my backlog. Tell
Yeah.
me when you're going to do it, and I'll
Yeah.
sit here and you tell me when it is done. So the ones that are collaborative in true sense, like they participate in refinement, they truly care about the reviews, and they are there to sort of comfort the team when they have failures, or when they have differences in opinions or whatever it is. It's not a transaction. Sort of, okay, I give you this, you give me that. It's so, and it's a happy place. It's you will always want to go back as a person, as a team, and work with that person because you know you have a friend in the person.
Mm.
Mm.
It's not lovey-dovey per se. It's hard, like hardcore delivery, but collaboration is the key. I think that's what you're saying, only.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
100%. Yeah.
And that sums up why it was number one on both of yours. And I don't think there is a number two. Maybe in the first 4 weeks, I'll give you time to think about if there's a number two. But if you're able to build those relationships in a time period like 4 weeks, which would be ambitious, then you probably are on the right step to getting a collaborative culture within your team. Just by having the knowledge about people and knowing what motivates them and spending that time. Um, we're going to close in a second or two, but maybe I'll come back to you with it. Is if we move away from the collaboration and the trying to get some structure, not structure, but relationships built. Is there anything else in that 4 weeks that you might look back at the end of week four and go, oh, that's something that I've also done that I definitely wanted to tick off? If we, is there a number two, Sandika?
there are things that I would consciously stay away from.
Okay.
Obviously, we all love to work in a culture or an organization that sets you up for success, and collaboration is key, and no politics, but it's quite utopian. So Oli talked about this handover, warm handovers. If you have a warm handover, then that means there's that collaboration till the other person leaves, and you can take over and whatnot. But most of the time we don't get the luxury of having a warm handover. So I will stay away from getting myself influenced by others who are talking about others, right? Because I don't want that to come in and precipitate, and then I start my new journey
Yeah.
knowing what someone else told about someone else. So I'll stay away from that garbage as much as
Hmm.
possible. And also around processes as well. Processes can change, can evolve. So I would rather understand how it is working now, and then understand the reasons later, and then change it if a change is required with the team, with the product owner. rather than just get influenced. So you can easily go down, spiraling down into a negative dark place. Because if the person who's leaving or is handing over is leaving for the right or wrong reason, but is hurt, then don't expect any good things come out as well. So you have to be bit aware of what is going on. I would tell that to myself. So for those reasons, I like a gig where I'm the first. Very rarely, okay, here's a new team, you go and start, because canvas is clean, so that's something
Ollie's
that
had that. I remember Ollie had that when we first met, brand new team. It's very lucky to get a greenfield site. Although you did get handed a backlog, if I remember.
It comes with its dangers
yes,
as well.
I remember that actually. You did have a deadline.
Yeah.
It comes with its own set of challenge, but I'd rather have that than getting influenced or
if I had my time again and I was put in a greenfield, oh man, it would be really, really amazing, because of all the learnings I took from that first time, and there were a lot of bad things bad things. There are a lot of negatives that came out of the woodwork, that if turn back time, you do things differently. But it was a great learning experience. Maybe we can talk about it one day, Sandika. I think for me, Alex, it would be understand what the work is, right? And again, it depends on if you've been in the company for a while, that's one thing. If you're new to the company, that's completely another thing. So understanding what your team is going to be working on or has already committed to, or what the roadmap is for the next 3 months, 6 months, that will give you a bearing of, if you have, for example, there's a roadmap that has 3 things on it over the next 6 months, and you're meant to be delivering them on month 2, month 4, and month 6, then you focus more of your time on that first one, because that's the thing that you have to deliver fastest. And then you go to number 2 and number 3, and then you can broaden out from there. So understand what the work is, and then start thinking about how you might go about getting more information about your domain. There's so many things that you can do in that first 4 weeks, but understanding who you're working with and understand what the work is probably the 2 most important things.
Well, you both failed to say complete your compliance exams, because you want to get that done in your first 4 weeks, because you want that out of the way. I think you're both on the same lines that I've like I say, I'm about 4 weeks in. I think obviously I'm slightly more geared towards the delivery side, so it's more understand the whip as much as what the roadmap is. That's something that would be the interpretation of understanding the work, but from a delivery point of view. But I couldn't agree more with don't make your mind up on anything. Make your mind up eventually, but in that first 4 weeks, be very open-minded. You'll hear a lot. You'll hear a lot about the team and its performance. Also, this is one thing that I found in this particular one. Find out where the pressure's coming, because sometimes teams do feel under pressure. And you can work out where that's coming from. You can start to resolve it, because it might just be because they've made commitments, not been able to keep to them, but they're actually performing really, really well. That's something I've learned just recently. All right, guys. That's it for this week. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. We'll be putting this on the usual places, on YouTube and LinkedIn and on Apple Podcasts. And it has got the previous episodes that we've done. So we've done one about introduction of a product owner, introduction of a Scrum Master, how to get through your interviews as a Scrum Master. And then there's a load of other ones about how to manage dependencies and a load of other stuff that we might cover again as a group. So just say, as we predicted, the sun has gone down here in Sydney in the time we've been on the call. Thanks again to Ollie and Sandika, and thanks to everybody for listening. Okay, take care, guys.
See you, everyone.
Thanks.